welcome. We've got a small group tonight, but that's okay because that just makes it cozy and gives everybody more time to learn. We have a really wonderful artist with us today. That's Miss Elizabeth Vanderkamp. She is a teacher and artist with Art Play and also an artist in residence with UAB's Arts in Medicine, and has been with us for such a long time. And we are so excited to have her with us today. So I am going to let Elizabeth take it away.
Thank you, Carly, and hello, everyone. I am so glad to be with you. And I just was looking at the participants, and is this true that there is Deborah, Johnny, Samantha, and somebody on their iPhone? Is that right?
Yep, I'm here. Yep, I'm here.
Okay, great. And who may I ask is on the iPhone? Your name?
Hi. I'm sorry. I'm not good with Zoom. Hi, Elizabeth. This is Patricia from the hospital.
Hi, Patricia.
Or Pat.
Okay, or Pat. I'm so glad you're here. Okay. Well, did all of you get your wonderful packages or an email with the story prompts? And just feel free to jump in and answer.
I have mine.
Okay. Anybody else?
I'm actually trying to get home. This is Pat, and I'm on my way home, so I don't have it with me now.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's fine. All right. Well, you know what? We'll give you a chance to get home, Pat, and I'll just talk a little bit. And while I'm talking, I'm going to give you a little bit of time to think about a question that has a few parts to it. And my question is, what is your favorite, but one of your favorite stories? And that could be in the form of a movie, a book, a television show, a comic book, any form of story. So I'd like us all to just think about that and think about why. What about that story just speaks to us? Maybe it's a new favorite or an old favorite. And then if there's a particular character that just has touched your heart and mind, and if you can articulate why, that would be great. So I want all of us to think about that. And I'm going to go ahead and answer my own questions. My favorite story, and I'm about to change it because I've had this one for so long, but is Rocky, the original Rocky movie from 1976. So many, many moons ago. And this story speaks to me because I love the setup. I love how Rocky is down and out and everything gets worse in the beginning. Like he wins a fight, but nobody really cares because the guy he fought is so crummy. He tries to give this girl advice and it seems like she's listening. And then she says basically up yours. And it's just, everything is bad. And then he gets this great opportunity. At first he's not going to take it. And then he does, and he doesn't even win, but he does his best. So I love that underdog thing of him and just what a big heart he has given all that he's gone through. And sometimes I know I felt like an underdog and I can call on that Rocky. And of course there's great music that I can also use to spur myself on. So just to avoid confusion, I'm going to call on people. Deborah, would you share one of your favorite stories and maybe why and a character from it?
So I'm having a little bit of trouble thinking of it, but so I love the Jane Austen story, Pride and Prejudice.
Okay.
And of course, I like Elizabeth Bennet because who doesn't that likes Pride and Prejudice? I like in the story watching her character evolve. I like the interplay between her and Mr. Darcy, where they neither one understands the other, and there's character after character just misunderstands the other characters. And I don't know, I've watched the movie and read the book so many times. I just always enjoy it. I never get tired of it. So, everything works out well in the end, and that's always a good thing.
Yes, yes, thank you. Do you, may I ask, do you relate to Elizabeth? I mean, do you feel like there's some part of you that's similar to her?
Probably in a little way, where you have kind of an ideal that I would seek, wanting the best of people and not always giving them the benefit of the doubt, trying to recognize that in myself, that, maybe I need to look at things from different points of view, try to understand where somebody else is coming from better.
Beautiful. I'm gonna steal that if you don't mind.
Whoa.
Thank you. That's great. That's great. Okay. How about you, Samantha?
So anybody, yeah, I have a story in mind. It was really the first one that popped into my head. And Deborah, like, I'm a big reader. I love Pride and Prejudice, but the story that immediately popped into my head is it's a radio story from This American Life. And anybody who knows me knows that I am obsessed with public radio. And so they have a specific story, and it's called 127 Cars. And I've listened to this story like so many times. And it's an hour-long story. And they are visiting this car dealership in New Jersey. And it's not that long after the recession. And basically being able to sell this many cars during the month is like the make or break for everybody's paycheck for the year, right? Except that it starts over again the next month. So they spend an entire month at this car dealership, just like you're like on the edge of your seat the whole time as to whether they're going to sell enough cars or not. And like all these things go wrong, and like people make mistakes, and customers do customer things that you do when you buy a car, because, when you buy a car, it's a big purchase. And so like, it's a huge to do. And it's riveting to listen to.
Yes. You know what? I have heard that. And you're right. Like, there's the one guy that is not going to make it. You just know he's not, with a super duper New Jersey accent.
Yes. Yeah. And I like their voice. Like, I love listening to their different voices. Like, it's really good. It's like a 10-year-old episode at this point. And I've listened to it several times. So yeah.
Yeah. So so I heard you say that it keeps you on the edge of your seat. So are you kind of are you a thrill seeker story kind of person, or
yeah, I like suspense. I like to be surprised and be like seeing what's going to come next. So
great. Thank you, Samantha. How about you, Johnny? What is one of your favorites?
Well, like Pat, I am also in the car trying to get home. I shall be there soon. So,
Okay.
Very similar to Rocky. I love the Tolkien stories, Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, because there's no way they can win. And yet they persevere, and they do. And when a story, I'm sitting there makes me think that they cannot possibly win, and yet they find a plausible way to do it, then I like that. I've always thought of myself as kind of a martyr anyway, so I like that role.
Okay. That you would persevere for a lost cause.
I can't say that I live up to that role. I just like to think I might be able to.
Okay. 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 Beautiful. Thank you. And thank you, Samantha. That was beautiful too. Pat, can you talk? Can you share, or do you need more time?
I actually just pulled in the garage, so I'm here.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
I'm not sure. I mean, I guess I really like Charles Dickens, and so what is it, A Christmas Carol? And I like Christmas stories. I mean, you know, how my sister and I, we can't wait to watch the Christmas movies on Hallmark Channel. So I think maybe that's one of my favorites because of the holiday. I don't know. I don't think that I'm Scrooge, but I like the fact that the travel, and maybe that you can make mistakes and try to redeem yourself later.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I hope a ghost comes and gets me before it's too late. Yes. Yes. Okay. Okay. So is that all of us that is share? Okay. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for all of you for sharing that. And I think, I think you all touched on this, that the suspense that Samantha mentioned, and also the like the ideals that these stories represent, that Elizabeth Bennet in Pride and Prejudice is, you know, just, she's so good. She's so good. And like Johnny said in The Lord of the Rings, that, you know, overcoming evil, even if it probably means your own death. And in Christmas Carol, the redemption, you know, the hope of that. And to me, and I'm going to open this up for discussion too. Why do you think we tell stories? Why have we done this for as long as we could talk, or even before humans could talk? You've probably seen like the drawings on caves from tens of thousands of years ago, people saying, you know, we were here. This is what we saw. This is what we did. Why do you think we do that? And Deborah, why do you think we do this? Why are stories so much a part of us?
Well, I think it's the shared experience. You know, we have a desire to share our experience, but we like reading stories, I think, to learn from other people's experiences.
Yes. So the shared experience, and even, tell me if this is right, like experiences that we couldn't possibly have because we can't go back and live in Elizabeth Bennet's England.
Right. And I'm not going to Mordor either. So.
And you're not going to what?
I'm not going to Mordor to, you know, find the ring or anything.
Okay.
But I love
right.
to watch someone else, you know, face those challenges.
Yes. Okay. Beautiful. So we get to witness. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Samantha, how about you? Why do you think we tell stories?
No, I think I'd agree there. That I think that we tell them to connect. My father-in-law was a car salesman like long before I met him, and it's something that like when I listen to the story, I can see him as one of the, like in the role and with the personality traits of some of those people. I think it helps me like know him a little bit better.
Oh my God.
From that.
Beautiful. How about that? Oh, I love that. So it, just to make sure I heard you right, that it's allowing us to connect with people in our lives from stories that we've heard, or is that accurate?
Yeah, mm-hmm.
Yeah, beautiful. Johnny, are you home? Are you in the garage now?
I just turned off the car, so I may get cut off.
Okay.
I think stories, to me, it serve at least two purposes, and one is to learn. So it you know, learn people's past, as we've said, and continue cultures and traditions through the ages. And the other is just to entertain.
Yes. How many of us binge watched or binge read in the last year? Yeah, I don't think I would have made it. Okay. Our tech person, Amanda, raised her hand. Just I watched really not very good TV, but I really liked the characters on Criminal Minds, as ridiculous as that was. Pat, how about you? Why do we tell stories?
I think maybe just to tag on what Joe said, it's a little bit, to be able to keep up with what's on.
I'm having trouble hearing you. Could you say that again?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, that's much better.
I just said it's to tag on to what Joe said, maybe a little bit of maintaining history. You have your parents, grandparents, tell stories about what happened to them when they were growing up. And it gives you a sense of community, a sense of kind of what was happening with them when they were your age, or, whatever age they're telling stories about.
Yes, absolutely. So it's nice to know that our grandmothers were little girls at one point and went on dates and things like that. Yes, beautiful. So to connect with our family and their past, and okay, wonderful. So I'd like to lay a couple of things on you, and then I want us to just play with stories, just like silly or suspenseful or stories. So the first thing is, you may have heard of this, but there's an actual physiological thing that happens to us when we are listening to stories. And I dare say it's probably, like most things, it's better if it happens live and we're listening to a story. It's the name for it is neural, and that's NEURAL, coupling, COUPLING. And what it is let's say that we're all at the Alice Stevens Center and there's a storyteller on stage, and it's kind of like today, maybe it's been a long day and you had to, hurry, and maybe it rained and you forgot your umbrella, and you sit down and you're just like, oh my gosh, okay, great. Person, tell me a story. And at first it's kind of like, maybe we don't hear them very well, or the rhythm isn't going right. And then after a few minutes, something almost magical happened where we're synced up to the storyteller, and not as though we can anticipate exactly what they're going to say, but it's just like we're in this rhythm. And if we could actually do, look at all of our brain waves, what's happened is neurocoupling. Is that the storyteller's brainwaves and our brainwaves as the story listeners are in the same pattern. And so has anybody, and please just jump in, ever experienced that, where they've just felt that? Anybody? Okay,
Yeah,
you're.
I do. I think that with the especially, I think like you're talking about when you go to see somebody live, like you can, I don't know, you feel like you're going along with them, and you're kind of like waiting with the next thing that they're going to say and everything.
Yes. And it's just, I feel like when I've felt that from both ends, as a storyteller and as a story listener, that it's very peaceful. Like it's not even work. It's just like there's this energy flow that's in a circle, from the teller to the listener and the listener to the teller. So I think that we've known that since we've started telling stories, and that's partly why we keep doing it. And the other thing is, you all may have heard this, but some scholars say there are actually only 7 stories in the whole world, 7 kinds of stories, and that we just riff on those 7 themes. And so, and along with that, because stories are so much a part of us, we are wired for narrative. And so I hope I'm going to just give an example of this right now. So the 7 types of stories are rebirth, comedy, tragedy, quest, voyage and return, overcoming the monster, and rags to riches. So could anybody just say those back to me? And this is really a trick question.
I'm writing as fast
Okay.
as I can.
Okay. No. Okay. You do. I'm gonna do it again. Okay. And I'm gonna do it in more of a narrative. And then, if you need to write it down, that's fine. But if you could hold off and not do that, and just listen and see how it goes. So, I was born, and very early on, I experienced a rebirth. And in this rebirth, I found life so funny. It was such a comedy. And then at other times, people died and life was a tragedy. And I went on a voyage to try to find the meaning of life. But I was alone, and I wasn't sure if I found it or not. And so I, instead of a voyage, I went on a quest and a return. I came back because I had knowledge to share. And in going on the voyage and return, actually, I went on a quest by myself, and then I went on a voyage and a return, and I returned with what I had learned. And in doing that, I overcame the monster inside of myself, the selfishness, the greediness. And I found that my life went from rags to riches, and not in terms of money, but in terms of love. And I found I was reborn again. So I goofed that up. That's the beauty of live storytelling. But who could tell me the 7 types of stories now? Okay, people, don't make me call on you. You're going to make me call on you.
It starts with rebirth.
Yes, beautiful.
Then
there's comedy and tragedy.
yes.
Yes. We can. Let's do it as a group.
There was
a quest. Yes.
Voyage and return.
Yes, beautiful. That's 5. And then
monster.
Yes. And then
and rags to riches.
Yes.
Beautiful. Yes. So I would lie in bed at night and try to think of the 7 kinds of stories, and I would always leave one out, and I always left out a different one until I created a story, as simple as it is, about the 7 stories, and now I remember them. So I'm going to challenge one of you wonderful, brave people to do that. And you can do it with the 7 types of stories, or take your cards and tell us a story, just on the spot. Who would like to do that? Shawnee, you want to, don't you?
Well, I don't have my cards in front of me. I'm not sure I got the package. My wife
Okay.
has gotten it and she's not here.
Okay. Well, you know what? Would you just tell us maybe like a 4-minute story about anything, and maybe invoke the perseverance of the Lord of the Rings?
Oh,
And if this is too much on the spot, say no, thank you.
I would love to. Is this a personal story, or do you want me to make one up?
It's your choice. Your choice. Whatever, just, I don't know, whatever you're drawn to tell.
Well, I'm not sure I have a personal story off the top of my head. I know I do, but yeah, I'm afraid I'm not gonna. I'm afraid I'm not gonna come up with something.
Okay, that's okay. Deborah or Samantha or Pat, do y'all have something that you'd like to tell from the cards, or personal, or even a children's story that you remember and really like?
Elizabeth, can you, and I think, so there's a couple sets of cards. Can you maybe just explain maybe how to use them to real quick? Because I'm not sure I'm totally clear on how they work, or as prompts and everything.
Okay, so what do you have? Do you have like all the colors?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how about take one of each color
Okay.
and just put them together, and how about you just read what they say to us, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay. So, and just like, whatever square from each piece.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. A hippo is very clumsy and has an attack of the hiccups and becomes a dancer.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay, beautiful. So what like we talked about stories that we like, an ideal, Samantha says she likes suspense, and I'll just add this to it that Pat likes the holiday stories and redemption, and Johnny likes kind of a voyage and return quest sort of thing. So if we just boil a story down, it's essentially things are like this, something happens, and then things are like this. So given your hippo and the hiccups and becoming a dancer, and what was the other part? I think there was one more thing.
She's very clumsy.
Oh my gosh. Okay, even better. So could you, I'm gonna challenge all of us. Let's give this hippo characteristics. Okay, so I'm gonna say she's really shy. So what other characteristics can we give her?
How about doesn't have great eyesight? Hippos don't have good eyesight.
Oh, okay, okay.
no.
She's visually impaired. We have
Yeah.
a visually impaired. Okay, okay. She's shy. She's visually impaired. What else? We can make her anything. Pat, what else about our hippo?
I was thinking just a physical problem. Maybe she hurt her ankle.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay, she has a hurt ankle, and that's bad because she has 4 ankles.
Mhm.
And okay. We also have a beautiful addition from Amanda, our text person. She's forgetful. Okay. And how about we give her a name? Not Hilda, please. Like that better.
We could call her Petunia.
Petunia?
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. Okay. So, oh, and Amanda says that's lovely. Thank you, Amanda. Okay. Okay. So, all right. So here's what we're gonna do. Petunia, I'm just gonna read back. I wrote down she's shy, she's visually impaired, she has a hurt ankle, she's forgetful. In addition to what's on the cards. So, Deborah, will you start out the story of Petunia, and then we'll have somebody else carry it on.
So Petunia is a hippo, and she dreams of becoming a dancer, but she's very clumsy. And at her first dance class, she fell and hurt one of her legs. And
Oh, dear.
poor little Petunia, she's very shy, and she needs some encouragement.
Okay. Thank you. Pat, would you pick it up from there and make something happen? Something happens to Petunia. You can decide what it is.
Okay. Petunia had her leg dressed by the veterinarian, and while she was there, she discovered that the veterinarian liked to dance, and she liked the music that was playing while she was there. The veterinarian actually started to dance for Petunia. Petunia got ideas. She thought, I think I can do this. I think I can do this. And so that cheered her up, and she felt encouraged, and she wanted to learn how to do the dances that the doctor was doing. So she left, and as she was going back to her home, she came across a little boy with a boombox, and he was actually listening to rap music. So she thought that maybe she could learn how to dance to rap music.
Wow. Okay. Great. Thank you. So I'm in love with Petunia. Oh my gosh. I want to meet this hippo. Okay. Johnny, you have to bring us home.
So Petunia decided she needed some professional help. So she called up and made an appointment with a rap singer to teach her how to sing rap music. So they made an appointment for the next Thursday at 10 o'clock. And Petunia showed up, only being forgetful as she is, she went to the wrong room and walked in on an opera singer who was singing beautifully. And it turns out that Petunia has tremendous talent as an opera singer, and she became world renowned both as a dancer and opera singer.
Beautiful. Okay. Bravo, everybody. Give yourself. That was so good. That was so good. So that's, I think you can see that's what the story prompts are for. And just, I loved, the twists and turns of your imagination. So thank you for going on the ride. The rap music and the boombox, and then going to the wrong place and finding the opera singer. Gorgeous. So, this is kind of late in this class, but I'm going to ask, are you all wanting to tell stories like professionally, or you just love stories, or what do you hope in our next 20 minutes that maybe or experienced that you haven't before? And Deborah, I'm going to call on you first.
I don't want to be a professional storyteller, or that's not my goal, but I've always been interested in stories and in the art of storytelling. My granddad was a really, really good storyteller, and my husband is also a very good storyteller. So this opportunity for this class just interests me, and maybe, kind of getting a better feeling for how to do that. We have young grandchildren, and so I just thought it would be an interesting thing to learn more about.
Great. Thank you. Johnny, how about you?
I love to tell stories. I've been told I'm okay at it, but I'm not sure I believe people. So I would like to learn how to do it better. I did tell a story one time at the Moth Story Hour that they were doing at Saturn in Avondale a couple of years ago. And that went okay. And I've gotten into when the pandemic started, I missed my grandchildren and I missed reading books to them. So I started doing videos of books and sort of putting a spin on the book, making my own stories out of them so that I could act them out. So that's been a lot of fun, but I need to learn how to do that better as well.
Oh my gosh, that is great. Okay. And how about you, Pat?
I just wanted to try something different. I don't know that I'm a storyteller, but just interested me.
Okay. Well,
hey, I'm sorry, everyone. I'm going to have to leave. I have a Bible study class too that I have to zoom in on. So,
thanks for coming, Pat.
Well, thank you. I appreciate everybody. Hi. Bye-bye.
Yes. Bye. Thank you. Well, Johnny and Deborah, I'll say this, that you to me, demonstrated that you are storytellers with Petunia, and just the willingness to jump in there. And I'm going to just tell you some things that I think are really valuable as a storyteller. That one, and it sounds like you do, that to really appreciate the audience, to, if it's grandchildren, if it's family, that the story, I feel like a wonderful storyteller in Birmingham, Dolores Hydock, when I attended one of her performances, she said, a story without a listener, like a teller without a listener, is like one hand trying to clap. And so I feel like it is just such it's just something that is so interesting. Like, we do it together. We do tell ourselves stories, but we tell stories to others for all the reasons that we had talked about before. So it sounds like you already do this, but if it's a story for grandchildren, sometimes the sillier the better, unless maybe we're trying to get them to go to bed, and then maybe the calmer the better. And along with that is appreciating who it's for, is appreciating how much enthusiasm we have for the story. That I'll say, what I've experienced with kids is the more I love it, the more they love it, because the more I can bring to it. And if there's stories that you know really well that maybe there is a book with, but we can share without the book and just really invoke the imagination, even if it's something like, let's say, The Giving Tree, that maybe it's one of their favorites and they know it by heart, but like maybe just to add that element of just the voice. And then with the voice, to be able to change it. You know, some people don't, and it's very effective, or just like a slight modulation. But again, depending on the audience, if it's distracting, no. But if it's going to add to the story that the monster has a creepy voice, that we add that in. And if the princess talks like that we add it in. The thing with that is that we have to be consistent. And I find that I really have to practice that, because my princess will turn into a monster if I'm not really paying attention. So really appreciating our audience, really bringing our own enthusiasm and love of the story. And I'm guessing, since you both have grandchildren, there's stories that maybe the enthusiasm waned after the first 708 times you read a story or told a story. So in that case, I know with my own children when they were young that I would mess it up on purpose, and they'd say, no, that's not right. They didn't all go to the playground. Only Sam went to the playground. And so I think that's fun with an audience, to allow them to be part of it too. I think, like we talked about a little bit of the education, that I'll just say I live in Homewood and go to the Homewood Library. It's really fun and to get stories from other cultures. And just, for instance, you may know this, every culture has a Cinderella story. So there's a Korean Cinderella, a Mexican Cinderella, a Norwegian, a Scandinavian, a Russian. Of course, in the United States, we have the Disney Cinderella. There's a Canadian Cinderella. So I think it's fascinating, like how these stories traveled throughout the world and what are the variations that different cultures put on them. Do y'all have any questions or comments so far?
What is your take on video stories, meaning, I guess, television and movies, versus written stories? I mean, I'm not sure what I'm asking, but do you have a preference for one or the other? Do you really dislike movies and television?
I'd love to tell you, yes, I do, but I do not. I think that, no, I personally love movies, and I have a 17-year-old daughter that we just watched Moxie together. It's a new Netflix movie that's very girl power, and I have found with her, the stories that we watch through movies and TV are a great way to connect. And that the archetypes, the characters that really appeal to her, kind of like, in the Lord of the Rings that you talked about, that, she likes this woman or this girl because they were strong. They stood up to authority. They stayed true to themselves. That I found that that's a place for us to meet. Whereas if I said, how are you strong? That would just totally shut her down. So I find that, and I think that's what art's about, that we talked about in the first place. Maybe we can't speak our own truth, but we can relate to a truth in a story. And I feel like and I'd love to hear y'all's opinions about this. The pandemic has forced us to rely on technology, and I think in some ways in a good way. Like, we wouldn't be together tonight without Zoom, and I've really enjoyed this virtual time. My favorite is live. And when that's not possible, the other mediums are fine too. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I love television and movies. I think I love them too much sometimes but my stance has been, when I'm retired now, but when I was working, I was in a brain intensive job, and I had to use my brain all day long thinking and solving problems and so forth. So when I got, after dinner, I was tired, mentally tired. And television and movies are a way to let them do a lot of the work for you. So in that regard, I liked it, but in that regard, I also don't like it, because I think books and live storytelling makes you do some of the work, the imagination yourself. And I think that's important. I don't want us as a society to get completely away from that.
I agree with you. Deborah, what do you think?
I agree with Johnny. I think it's, for me, movies and television are a nice escape. They can be relaxing or they can be exciting depending on what I'm watching. But nothing compares, I don't think, completely to a book or a storyteller, because there's so much more imagination involved in that process. And, to me, the best stories are the ones of any genre where I can just, it comes alive in my mind, and I just see what's happening, and the characters, I know what that character looks like, or it's just very real. And so that takes a lot more, like Johnny said, on our part, than watching the others. But I do watch a lot of movies and television. So
don't you hate it when you have this great book, you've loved it and they make a movie out of it and they get the characters all wrong?
Yes.
They don't look like
Yes. And they chop the story up and move things around and leave out important parts. And
yes, I agree. And Amanda, our tech person, just put all caps, yes. It's just so frustrating. I can think of one book that I loved like that, The Help, and the movie just, I felt like the book was a little not a little, but whitewashed anyway. And then the movie took the teeny bit of grit out of the book. Did any of you see that or read that?
I saw that movie. I thought it was really good. So, but I didn't read the book. So you're saying
okay, don't read it.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought the book was a lot better. A lot better.
I mentioned Lord of the Rings earlier. I loved that book, and I was really excited when they made the movie, and I thought they did a fabulous job with the movie. I don't think they could have done it better. So I was very pleased in that way.
I was pleased with that one as well. And also the first Harry Potter movie, when I sat in the theater, and it was like, that's exactly what it looks like.
Yes.
That's just what Quidditch is like, and that's how Hogwarts is supposed to look. So every now and then they get it right.
Yes.
I agree. And I read The Lord of the Rings after I saw the first movie. I'm embarrassed to say that, but that is true. And I loved it. I mean, I loved both. So yeah. And I agree about Harry Potter too. I remember I lived in New Hampshire and had just gotten married when the first movie came out, and I went by myself. I didn't have children yet. And this man and his little boy that was so excited, he was like, where are your kids? And I said, well, I don't have any kids. And they're like, you're just here to see this movie? Yes, I love Harry Potter. Yes, I'm here to see the movie. So yes, I I think, I think I'll just say this is, I guess this is my hope as a storyteller, as we've talked about. Sometimes we do just need to escape. Because, like you said, Johnny, of a job that requires so much brain power all day, to just give the brain a little break. That I feel like a real gift of TED Talks and the Moth and ARC stories in Birmingham is that, and particularly TED Talks, brought just good old fashioned storytelling back. And even though, you can watch them, but you can go to them, and that there are, and hopefully, soon again, as the pandemic eases, that we can do that together, because I think that communal experience is just so rich, and especially for children to know that it's a real human being up there on the stage that can respond to you. And I personally love that. Like, stand-up comedians like Trevor Noah, that oftentimes that's a story. I mean, definitely it has a kind of punchline, but it's still a story and takes us on a journey. We just have a few minutes left. And I'll just say just a little bit of advice about storytelling again, that really, and it sounds like y'all already do this, but I invite you and me to just really pay attention to the stories that speak to us and enjoy them for that. And then maybe take another, like a meta look at it and say, well, why? Why did this speak to me so much? Was it, that character? Was it the beauty of the setting? Was it the words? What was it that just touched me so much? And whatever it is, if possible, can I bring that into the stories I tell, and just see what that does? Do y'all have any other questions or comments?
You mentioned some of this, and you mentioned Dolores Hydak earlier, whom I love to go watch her. Are there other mediums in town? There are other storytelling events that I don't know about?
That is a great question. I don't know of any right now, other than like through the Alice Stevens Center, the performances and art play. Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
But that's a great question.
I live in the Huntsville area, and there's a really big storytelling festival at Athens College.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And I will say, go ahead.
I was thinking that's in the fall, usually.
I'm trying to remember, this past year, it's like my brain has turned to mush. I can't remember if it's a spring or fall event. I know the Fiddlers Convention's in the fall. But it's a big event.
Yes. And there's one in Selma in honor of Catherine Tucker Wyndham, that's usually in the fall. So many things happen in the fall because the weather is so lovely. And then the international storytelling festival that's in Jonesboro, Tennessee, that is always the first long weekend, starting Thursday of October. And this past year they were virtual, but that is quite an event. It's like tents in this beautiful town. And the tents hold 1,000 people, and the sound system is great, and it's storytellers from around the world that come there. I would highly recommend that. Well, I see that we have 2 minutes, so I want to say thank you so much. I really loved the creation of Petunia and just your willingness to do that. Oh, and from Tech, I just got another chat. Maybe everybody got it, of Do y'all see that?
Yes.
Okay. The Fiddlers Convention and Spoken Word, March 30th at UAB. So awesome. Well, keep telling stories. And I tell stories around town too. So I hope if you see Elizabeth Vanderkamp that you will say, oh yeah, Rebirth, Rags to Riches, boy, or something. Anyway, I hope you come.
Thank you. You've been great.
Thank you so much. I've enjoyed it.
I'm so glad. I have too. It's so nice to meet you virtually, and take care.
You too. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Elizabeth, good night.
Bye.